Hello world, this is Daniel Rucker coming to you on Truth Table YouTube channel. So today's topic is going to be, when did classy stop being cool? Definitely want to talk about it. I think this point is necessary, it's needed. I think this topic is necessary, it's needed. And so let's dive right in. You guys know me. To get started. So some may ask, like, why? Why is this a concerning issue, Daniel? Why is it something that you felt you needed to bring to the platform and talk about? Well, I'll tell you why. Because me, currently, being a 34-year-old man, 80s baby, shout out to the 80s babies out there, I've witnessed a lot of changes. And what I've been seeing occur, just based on my observation from, the time frame to where I was born, inception, 85 to up until now, I've seen a lot of shifts, a lot of social norms that have changed, a lot of things that now we as people seem to identify differently with when it comes to characteristics. And again, this is just my observation, my perspective, and what I feel I've gathered by interacting with countless people. So some may ask, well, what exactly? Let's narrow this down, because that's broad. You're going all over the place. You're giving us a lot of fluff at this point. Well, let's talk about it. I feel that we now as a society are slowly, if not slowly, maybe even rapidly. That's better. Rapidly progressing past a point to where being classy and having those what I would consider solid characteristics as a person exist. When is the last time that you use the word classy, or even interacted with somebody, even maybe thought, like, wow, like this individual, that's classy, outside of maybe a red carpet event or something like that. Because it doesn't seem to be something that most people are looking at and most people are identifying with. And I feel that's scary. There's just a very tragic, component that I feel is necessary, that's lacking. So let me give you some examples of what I mean. There are things that, like, some say our music has changed drastically. Anybody with an ear could definitely attest to that has been a shift. And a lot of that has to do with consumer diet. A lot of that has to do with marketing. A lot of that has to do with, the times and relative content. There's so many variables. Our music has changed. Our media has changed. What was once considered wholesome TV, things like the Cosbys or, Family Matters, Step by Step, Leave It to Beaver, forgive me for my lack of giving more examples of wholesome TV and content, but I'm pretty sure that my viewers, being smart individuals, know exactly what I'm talking about, that there's things that were presented in front of us that we can consider to be safe viewing for family, safe viewing for children, safe viewing for all parties involved, when you were just trying to get good material, things to laugh at, things to make memorable and digest, and didn't have to be concerned with the censorship of sorts. So since I'm talking about censorship, and to back up my point and giving you more of a where I'm coming from with this, I found it very interesting, me being someone who grew up in an era where TV, the sitcom era, was my era at that point, that transition. So I watched a lot of TV, like a lot of TV. And one thing I remember standing out around the mid 2000s is I started to notice that the word bitch was being heavily used, almost regularly, which was shocking to me, because everyone knows, and every man I'm pretty sure knows, that word was a trigger word. That word was a word that would get you in an argument with any woman in a 3 feet, 6 feet, 10 feet radius. If you use it in a context to be offensive to her as a person and her as a woman, that word has so much power in dismantling of that individual, even so to where now, not even now, but it's actually transferable, because even when it's thrown at a man, it's the same thing. It was meant at the time to be offensive. But now, fast forward to 2020, and not even at this current moment, but mid 2000s, I'll say around 07, 08 and on, it's socially acceptable. It's wide openly acceptable. I mean, you have so many examples on TV and movies to where that word is, for the most part, going to be used. And so, I try to do a little research, try to make sure that I'm somewhat educated when I'm debating my point or arguing my points. And what I stumbled across and found is that, our use of the word, and I say our use, I mean human beings, human race, our use of the word statistically has tripled since 2007 until now. That at one point it was only utilized, let me make sure, it's grown from being utilized on 431 uses since 2007 on 103 primetime shows to now being utilized 1,277 times on 685 shows. Now, I'm no mathematician, and I'm definitely no expert when it comes to certain things, but I can count. I can do my 2 plus 2. I can do my basic, and so I can say that's grown, and it doesn't take a rocket science to know that that's grown. So some may say, well, why has that grown? Well, I believe a lot has to do with what I'm saying, is that the classiness of sorts when it comes to characteristics of being people have not been held to the same regard. People are not seeming to factor in that as a identifier. Even in the example of meeting someone, a lot of my conversations on this channel are going to be relative to things like relationships, love, communication. I'll try to stay away from politics, but social issues. And so I love talking about relationship. I love the dynamics between a man and a woman. I love the dynamics between relationship as a whole, family dynamics and all of those things. But we'll definitely, moving forward, talk about those things at a later time. But why I bring that up is that even in that is that when you are talking to your friends in any setting, you're like, oh man, I met this girl and man, she's bad, she's smart, she's educated, she's curvy, got a good job, whatever it may be. You rarely, at least in my circles or at least in my experience of things I've observed and been around, you rarely hear, man, is she classy? And if you do hear it, it's cool, but it's easy to associate what that word means. Classiness has so much subcontext to it that when you use it, what it's associated with. Classy, quality, classy, standard, classy, of good standing, of an elevated position per se. And that's the same thing I think even with a man, is that if, when girls are talking about men that they've met or, been introduced to, you don't hear, girl, he was tall, because tall is the big thing where most women, but that's usually like, he's tall and handsome and, educated and smart, but classy doesn't seem to be the one word that exists in that context. So it got me thinking, why? And I just firmly believe that it's something that is, tremendously lacking in our society. So, to segue into, my more points on this particular subject, going back to things like our media, our music, our digestive appetite for those things, I think that has a lot to do with it. We can go into the many facets of the shifts of family dynamics and so on and so forth, but I'll definitely save you guys the time at this particular broadcast. But let's just utilize an example. So what I would consider, I picked a few celebrities that I feel are people who are of classy standard, who represent like good role models per se. So yeah, so people like Oprah, Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, some could say Tyler Perry. There's actually quite a bit of individuals who I feel who have good representation in the media and the public sector, because they just have a certain type of aura characteristics about them, and just with those individuals that I listed, most could say that they have a positive image. Is really what I'm trying to get at. Then you have individuals who maybe don't have that same type of imagery or don't have the same type of reputation. But, going back to what I was saying as far as the classiness factor goes, is that, we seem to, as a society, celebrate those who are a little bit more on the ratchet side, the side to where I've heard people label it as, oh, that person is just real. That person's just, they're just who they are, and that's it's hard for me to receive sometimes, because someone being vulgar or someone being, abrasive, if that's who they are, that's great. But what if the person is not like that? What if the person who has manners, a person who is respectful, who treats everyone with a decency, if that's who they are, why is that not celebrated? Why is that not given the same type of clout? And I can prove it on just, certain things that I've seen to have been, overlooked. We just at the current day, like I said, our society gives more clout, it seems, to those who are just a little bit more out there. You can see it as far as even the followers that exist on some of these people's pages. Like Oprah, she's Oprah. Oprah only has 17.5 million followers on Instagram, compared to somebody like Cardi B, who has 57.8 million followers on Instagram. Now, I get it. Some people could say, well, Oprah's old, Cardi's young. The demographics of the market that she, represents, or more so the market of people who are looking to her, or the people that she is catering to. And obviously there's variables, but I hope that you get my point, is that just as things have continued to transpire and we move forward as a growing, society and in humanity, the classiness of sorts just seems to be depleting. And what I would like to see is, people who are bold enough to start actually standing for, stronger characteristics, where being respectful and having manners, is not corny, it's not uncool. It's actually attractive, desirable, and not given that kind of like, oh, you're a square, or, because you're not going off on people every time someone cuts you off on a freeway, or, doesn't acknowledge you in the proper way. We need to be practicing more representation of growth and maturity, in my honest opinion. And that's really just what I wanted to talk about today. Just giving you guys, some more feedback in the sense of my mindset and things that I process and I think about and I encounter. There's going to be a lot of content that I'm going to be bringing to the channel. Please don't hesitate to, press that like button and subscribe to my channel. I want to continue to bring you this content in the most raw, realest way. Any questions, any topics, any things that you guys would like me to expand upon or expound upon, feel free, leave comments in the section, and I will definitely take those things into consideration. So yeah, this is Daniel Rucker on True Table signing out. Until next week, you guys enjoy the rest of your week, and thank you for your time.